And we are back with the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm Rick Unger with my friend Betsy McCoy, filling in for Steve today, who is off in the wild blue yonder somewhere. We have got one of my favorites joining us now, Newsmax White House correspondent and chief political columnist, the one and only John Gizzi. Welcome to the program.
Pleasure to be here, Rick, and you certainly fill the shoes of my friend Steve Malzberg
Well, I don't know about that, but
with a little help from your friends, Governor McCoy.
That's very kind. Listen, we should start with breaking news. We're now hearing that New Jersey Senator Menendez has in fact been indicted on corruption charges stemming to his involvement with a good friend of his. We'll let you fill us in. I know you've been covering the story. What's going on?
Well, let me be clear about something, Rick. This is a story that has been waiting to happen for 3 years. It was 3 years ago last month that I first reported the rumors seeping out of the Department of Justice that the Democratic senator from New Jersey and then chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee would be indicted on charges of receiving illegal gratuities from a close family friend, and these include flights on his private jet, stays at his vacation home in Florida, and in return had done favors for him. He has long denied anything, and as recently as 3 weeks ago insisted he would not resign if indicted. "I'm not going anywhere," said the senator from the Garden State. Well, now it's happened, and what is going to happen next is a little bit of nervousness on the part of Democrats in his own state, and probably some pressure that he might consider fighting for his good name as a private citizen. We will see, but you're going to hear a lot of discussion about the status of Senator Menendez in the days and weeks ahead.
John, I have two questions for you. One is that the honest services statute that's being used to indict him is frequently used as a kind of political persecution. And in fact, that's the statute that they're using against Sheldon Silver here in New York State. So what is your take? Is this really political persecution because of the number of ways that Menendez has differed with Obama?
No, it's not, because the rumors and the talk of investigation, Betsy, appeared long before he had his most serious breach with the Obama administration. And let me point out why. It was only very recently, as you well know, that the president opened the doors to Cuba and endorsed lifting the embargo with Havana, something that the Congress has to take action on. This is something in which he clearly drew a line between himself and Senator Menendez, the highest elected Democrat of Cuban heritage. And so their differences were not that severe in the past. In fact, they've worked together on pushing reforms of the International Monetary Fund and other projects. I don't see the reason for indictment, and I would also say that a Democratic administration indicting a Democratic senator who, if forced out of office, would have a Republican successor appointed by a Republican governor, makes no sense.
Let me ask you one other follow-up question. Harry Reid was linked with some of these associations with Menendez and the doctor in Florida. Do you think it's a reason he resigned?
No, I do not. Senator Reid knows when to hold him and knows when to fold him. He barely won re-election after a primary in which Republicans put up a not-so-stellar candidate against him. He could see that, as the chairman of the Republican Senatorial Committee said, there was one major target for his panel in 2016, and that was the senior senator from Nevada. The state is trending increasingly to the Republican side, and I think he wanted to go out a winner.
John, I'm really glad to hear you say these things. You've actually effectively shot down two conspiracies I've been hearing the last few days. The first being that the problems with Menendez are all about his disagreements with Obama. As you correctly stated, you reported this 3 years ago, long before any problem, and now you're making clear that Harry Reid's involvement, which was sitting in on one meeting with the Secretary of Health and Human Services, it had nothing to do with it. Very glad. Listen, we got a lot more we want to talk to you about, John. We're probably not going to get to it in this segment, but you're joining us for another segment. So you'll be right back with us? Good. One of the things that we're going to want to talk about, John, when we come back, one of the things that we're going to want to talk about, you've been following the Nigeria story pretty closely, and we're going to want to do that, right? We are back with John Gizzi, Newsmax White House correspondent, Newsmax chief political columnist, joining us to delve into more of today's news topics. John, you've been covering this election that's going on down in Nigeria. Now, this is not your typical situation down there. First of all, it was a Democratic election, and second of all, the turnover seems to be happening without any undue violence or stress. What's going on down there, John?
Well, the real story is the importance to the United States and the rest of the world. Nigeria is mineral rich. It is the most populous country in the continent of Africa, and it's a place that the world's eyes have been on because of Boko Haram, the terrorist group that recently pledged solidarity with ISIS and is responsible for the death of more than 70,000 Nigerians in the past several years, as well as the notorious kidnapping of 200 girls that are either held hostage or forced into marriages or of worse fate even. Now, in a peaceful transition, the first in Nigerian history, President Goodluck Jonathan congratulated the man who defeated him, General Muhammadu Buhari. And General Buhari is now the person who must deal with terrorism, and plus the world is noticing that he is a former military strongman in that country.
And who once ran the
he was
government.
someone who
Didn't he
ruled
once
30
control
years ago
it? Yeah.
with an iron fist.
Yeah, he once controlled it as a result of a coup, am I
And
correct?
yes, that's right. And he was in power for less than 2 years, 1983 to 85, and during that time, he oversaw secret trials of opponents as well as whipping of civil servants who didn't come to work on time. Now, when that was done, all said and done, many of the people who were former prisoners came out and made speeches in his behalf and campaigned, saying, I was held in jail or my father was held in jail, but I'm supporting the general because of my son or my children. They felt he was the only person who could lead the fight against Boko Haram and make Nigeria a peaceful place to live.
Well, this
I might add, President Obama congratulated him this morning and congratulated the Nigerian people on joining the communities of democracy in the world.
Nevertheless, this was bad luck for
Yes, Betsy.
Goodluck Jonathan. And it appears as if a major reason for this turnover, peaceful as it was, is the failure of the previous president to maintain order. And we're seeing that all over Africa, wherever there is this kind of international terrorism, whether it's ISIS or Boko Haram, it's creating a tremendous unsettling among the governments of Africa.
Well, wait just a minute, Betsy. In Kenya, Al-Shabaab was responsible for that terrible tragedy that occurred in a mall in Nairobi. And yet their president, Uhuru Kenyatta, showed that he was up to the job dealing with terrorism and calming the people. Now, it will be up to Nigeria's president to see if he can do the same with a much larger threat. Regarding Goodluck Jonathan, a Christian and someone who was an engineer by trade and an educator, very bright man, but he was also someone who tolerated corruption en masse. And that's often cited as a reason that so many local communities actually turned to the nefarious terrorists of Boko Haram for leadership because they no longer had confidence in the elected government that was frankly wasting their tax dollars and lining their pockets.
John, we have a
The new president is someone who lives.
The lag makes it really hard. I'm really sorry.
He lives very humbly and is someone who said he will get rid of corruption in his country. It remains to be seen.
In the short time we have left, John, and it's very short, just quickly, what do you think of today's decision to extend the talks with Iran over in Switzerland? And we've got about 10 seconds for you to answer.
Well, I'm going to say this. This was discussed quite a bit at the White House yesterday by Press Secretary Josh Earnest. I think the best comment I can say about it is that the Reuters report on this, which is
5 seconds,
negotiators have a tentative agreement on the rough outline of a possible public
John,
statement.
I got to cut you off. Thanks for joining us, John Gizzi. Coming up next, the Daily Closing Bell Report and more with Jeff Yasting. Stay with us.